The restaurant hummed with that peculiar, brittle tension of moneyed people pretending to be relaxed. Crystal glasses clinked, hushed laughter drifted between tables draped in starched linen, and the air carried the faintly metallic scent of oysters and overpolished silver. Maya Torres tightened her grip on the tray balanced against her palm. Her wrist ached from the double shift. She hadn't slept more than 3 hours last night. Her daughter had woken with a cough that wouldn't quit. The landlord's note about final notice sat crumpled in her apron pocket. She forced herself to smile. Smile, nod, endure. Table 12. The corner booth. Damien Cole. Even before she turned the corner, she felt his presence, the billionaire's gravity pulling the entire room toward him. His reputation preceded him. Tech genius, venture capitalist, the man who broke companies and governments with the flick of his pen. And he liked to be seen. Damien lounged with 3 suited men and 2 women glittering in diamonds. His cufflinks gleamed like miniature mirrors. His voice carried easily over the jazz piano. Maya approached, steadying the tray. "Your entrees, gentlemen, ladies." She bent carefully, placing each dish. Lobster, steak, sea bass. Her body moved with the practiced choreography of survival. Keep it smooth, keep it invisible. But when she leaned to set the last plate, her tired wrist betrayed her. The tray tilted. A glass of red wine tipped, splashing across Damien's pristine shirt front. The silence was instant. The jazz faltered. Even the ice in the highball seemed to hold its breath. Maya's stomach plunged. I'm so sorry, sir, let me..." Damien rose slowly, blotting the stain with his napkin. Each motion deliberate, theatrical. His smile was sharp. A blade disguised his charm. "Of course it would be you," he said, loud enough for half the room to hear. Maya froze. "Excuse me?" He chuckled, waving his companions into shared amusement. "Every time I come here, they send you. The waitress with the permanent dark circles. The one who walks like her shoes don't fit. And tonight," he spread his arms, displaying the stain. "You've graduated from clumsy to catastrophic." The table laughed. A ripple of nervous titters spread across the restaurant. Heat crawled up Maya's neck. She bent instinctively to dab the spill with her towel, but Damien pulled back, disgust twisting his features. "Don't touch me. Haven't you done enough?" Her hand shook. She felt every eye on her pinning her like an insect. The humiliation pressed down harder than the rent notice, harder than her daughter's cough, harder than the exhaustion burning through her bones. Something inside her snapped. Maya straightened, the towel dropping to the floor. Her voice came out steady, low, but carrying clear across the room. "You know what, Mr. Cole? You're right. I do have dark circles. I do walk like my shoes don't fit because they don't. They're 2 sizes too small. I bought them secondhand so my kid could have medicine last month instead of new sneakers." The room stilled. The laughter died. "And yes, I spilled wine on your precious shirt. Guess what? It'll wash. Or maybe you'll throw it away and buy another. Because for you, money isn't real. It's just a number on a screen that keeps everyone else bowing to you. But for me, it's the reason I'm here 12 hours a day instead of reading my daughter a bedtime story." One of Damien's companions muttered, "Jesus." Maya's throat burned. But she kept going, words tumbling like floodwater. "Do you think humiliating a waitress makes you powerful? That's not power, it's cowardice. Anyone can buy their way into a corner booth. Anyone can write a check big enough to keep people too afraid to talk back. But strip that away and you're just a man in a stained shirt." The silence was electric. Even the pianist stopped. Damien's jaw clenched. For a second, something flickered behind his eyes. Anger. Yes, but also fascination. Like he'd spotted an anomaly he couldn't quite compute. "You don't know who you're talking to," he said softly, menace lacing his tone. Maya met his gaze, steady for the first time all night. "No, Mr. Cole, I finally do." The words hung in the air, fragile but unbreakable. Then the sound of someone clapping cut through the tension. A single mocking clap. One of the suited men, grinning, amused by the spectacle. Others joined half-heartedly, awkward laughter bubbling back into the room. The spell broke, but the damage lingered. Maya turned on her heel and walked away before her shaking legs could betray her. She didn't care about the job anymore. She didn't care about the whispers that would follow. In the staff locker room, she pressed her hands to her face, heart pounding so hard it hurt. "Stupid, stupid, stupid," she muttered. She needed this paycheck. She needed the tips. But something inside her, Something buried under years of swallowing pride had refused to stay silent. By the time she left, the night air had cooled her skin, but not her thoughts. She replayed every word, every glance, every laugh. Shame wrestled with relief. At home, her daughter Sophia slept curled beneath a blanket patched in 3 places. Maya kissed her forehead, inhaling the faint scent of cough syrup. She whispered, "I won't let him win." But even as she drifted into a fitful sleep, the image of Damien's cold smile haunted her. The next morning, the knock at the door startled her. Too early for mail, too soft for the landlord. Maya opened it to find no one there, just a small envelope on the mat. Heavy paper, thick, expensive. Her name written in precise black ink. Inside lay a single card. Matte black, weighty. The kind of card whispered about, reserved for the untouchable wealthy. No return address. No explanation. Just a folded slip of paper with 4 words in neat anonymous script. For services rendered. Maya's breath caught. The card glinted in the morning light, both promise and threat. Her hands trembled as she closed the door, leaning against it as the world shifted beneath her feet. Whatever last night had started, it wasn't over. The black card sat on the kitchen table like a loaded gun. Maya couldn't look at it without her pulse quickening. Sleek, heavy, unnatural in her tiny apartment where the paint peeled and the fridge rattled. It looked obscene against the chipped laminate. She'd tried to shove it into a drawer the night before, but her hand betrayed her, setting it back in the center like some dark shrine. Her phone buzzed. A reminder, rent overdue. Final notice, her stomach twisted. She opened the cabinet, staring at the dwindling box of cereal, the half-empty jar of peanut butter. Sophia would need cough syrup again soon. The cheap brand barely helped, but the good one was out of reach. Always out of reach, Maya muttered under her breath. It's a trap. But was it? The words on the note replayed in her mind like a taunt. For services rendered. D-services? What service? The service of humiliating herself in front of the entire restaurant? Or the service of speaking to him like no one else dared? A sharp knock rattled the door. Maya startled, half expecting Damien himself. But it was Rosa, the neighbor from across the hall, balancing a toddler on one hip. "Maya, did you hear? Management's talking eviction if you don't catch up this week," Rosa whispered. Her eyes darted down the hallway. "They're making lists." "I know," Maya said tightly. "I'll figure it out." Rosa gave her a pitying look. "I hope so." When the door closed again, Maya's gaze slid back to the card. Her daughter padded out from the bedroom, rubbing her eyes, hair sticking up. "Mommy, do we have milk?" Maya crouched, hugging her close. "Not yet, baby. Later today." Sophia nodded, trusting, and shuffled toward the couch. Maya pressed her forehead to the edge of the counter, whispering, "I'll fix this somehow." At work, the whispers started before she even tied on her apron. "You see her? That's the one who told off Damien Cole." "No way." "She's still breathing?" "I heard he sent her flowers." "No, a car." "A whole damn car." Maya kept her head down, pretending not to hear, but their voices slid beneath her skin. In the locker room, one of the other waitresses cornered her. "Okay, Spill. Are you sleeping with him? Is that how you're still on the schedule?" Maya's throat tightened. "No, it's nothing like that." The girl smirked. "Could have fooled me. Must be nice having a billionaire sugar daddy." The words stung worse than they should have. When the manager called her into the office, she braced for the inevitable. "Maya," he said, steepling his fingers, "last night Mr. Cole isn't a man we want to alienate. You understand?" "Yes, sir. You're lucky he didn't press charges." Her chest tightened. "For what? Spilling wine?" "For disrespect." He leaned forward. "Be careful. People like him, they don't forgive." "But," his eyes softened slightly, "he hasn't asked me to fire you. So maybe keep your head down, keep your head down." Always the same advice. That night after Sophia was asleep, Maya sat with the card again. The eviction notice glared at her from the counter. The balance on her phone banking app screamed red numbers. She ran her thumb across the raised digits. One swipe and the medicine was hers. One swipe and rent disappeared. One swipe and maybe, for the first time in years, she could breathe. Her phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. "Use it. That's what it's for." Maya's blood ran cold. She typed back, "Who is this?" No response. She turned the card over, scanning for details. No bank logo. No hotline. Just black. On the back, a set of digits she didn't recognize. neither account number nor customer service. Against every screaming instinct, she opened her laptop and entered the numbers into a search bar. Nothing. Just a blank page. Then her phone buzzed again. Private account. Direct access. No limits. Maya's breath caught. This wasn't a gift. This was surveillance. She yanked the SIM from her phone, heart hammering. But the truth pressed down harder than the fear. She'd already been noticed. Already been chosen. The next day, desperation outweighed dread. Sophia's cough grew worse, hacking and raw. Maya couldn't ignore it anymore. She found herself in the pharmacy aisle, clutching the medicine box with both hands. Her debit card balance was laughable. Rent was due in 3 days. Her fingers trembled as she slid the black card across the counter. The cashier barely glanced at it before the register beeped approval. Receipt in the bag. Have a nice day. Maya stared, dizzy. That was it? No questions? When she returned home, Sophia snuggled into her lap after her first dose, relief softening her tiny face. Maya kissed her hair, tears pricking her eyes. It's okay, baby, she whispered. I've got you. But the relief was poisoned with unease. Because in that moment, Maya knew using the card wasn't freedom. It was permission. Permission meant control. And Damien Cole never gave without taking more. Later that night, the phone rang. A smooth, low voice slid through the speaker. Comfortable, Miss Torres? Her heart lurched. How did you get this number? A soft chuckle. I told you. Direct access. You've already accepted the terms. I didn't sign anything, she snapped. You didn't need to. You spoke, and I listened. His voice darkened. That card is yours, but don't mistake it for charity. Every choice has a price. Maya gripped the phone, fury burning through her fear. Then take it back. No, Damien said simply. You've already used it. The line clicked dead. Maya sank against the wall, the card heavy in her pocket like an anchor pulling her under. She understood then. It hadn't been a gift. It had been a leash, and she'd just wrapped it around her own neck. The knock on the door was polite, almost apologetic. But Maya knew before she opened it. Damien Cole didn't belong in hallways like hers, paint bubbling from water damage, neighbors' shoes lined up against the wall. But there he was. Perfectly pressed suit, silk tie the color of midnight. His cologne slipped past her like smoke. Maya. His smile was soft, practiced. May I come in? Her throat closed. How do you even know where I live? He gestured toward the apartment. Answers are easier face to face, and she wanted to slam the door. Instead, she found herself stepping back, heart pounding. He walked inside like he owned the air, his gaze scanning the peeling paint, the secondhand furniture, the pile of unopened bills stacked on the counter. This is where you raise your daughter? His tone was curious, not cruel, yet the words sliced anyway. Maya crossed her arms. Say what you came to say. Damien turned, smile sharpening. You're different. Everyone else bends, bows, flatters. You didn't. That kind of defiance. It's rare. I admire it. Her laugh came out bitter. You humiliated me in front of a restaurant full of people, and you humiliated me back. His eyes gleamed. Do you know how long it's been since anyone dared? It was refreshing. Maya's pulse raced. Then why the card? Why the messages? What do you want from me? Damien leaned against the counter too close. I wanted to give you something no one ever gives a woman like you. Freedom. The ability to breathe without worrying about rent, cough syrup, or secondhand shoes. And you've already tasted it, she flinched. It's not freedom if you're watching every move I make. His grin widened. Of course I'm watching. Freedom without accountability isn't freedom. It's chaos. You're not a child. You understand oversight? Her jaw tightened. You mean control? He shrugged, unbothered. Call it what you like. The card is yours. Use it, don't use it, it makes no difference to me. But I'll be watching either way. With that, he straightened, smoothed his cuff, and left. No goodbye, no glance back. Just the faint echo of his footsteps down the hall. Maya stood frozen, the silence pressing against her chest. The next day, she swiped the card again. Groceries this time. A cart full of fresh fruit, chicken, yogurt. Real food she hadn't been able to afford in months. Relief bloomed in her chest as she watched Sophia eat strawberries with sticky fingers and a grin. But later that night, her phone buzzed. Blueberries. Good choice. She likes them. Maya dropped the phone like it had burned her. He was watching. He was always watching. She told herself she could live with it if it meant Sophia was fed. She told herself she could endure his shadow if it kept the landlord at bay. But every time she slid the card, she felt both lighter and heavier. Exhilarated and trapped, it was like breathing oxygen mixed with smoke. 2 weeks later, she heard a voice she hadn't heard in years. Maya. She spun in the grocery store aisle, heart stuttering. There stood her sister, Lucia, older by 3 years, eyes sharper, hair pulled back tight. The last time they'd spoken, it had been a screaming match over money, over responsibility, over the weight their parents left behind. "Lucia," Maya whispered. For a second, both women stood frozen. Then Lucia sighed and pulled her into a quick, stiff hug. "I thought you moved away," Maya said. "I did. Came back for work?" Lucia studied her. "You look different. Better clothes. Nicer cart. What's going on?" Maya hesitated. She wanted to lie, but the words slipped out before she could stop them. "Someone's helping me." Lucia's gaze sharpened. "A man?" Maya swallowed. "You wouldn't understand. Try me." So in the middle of the fluorescent aisle, Maya told her. "Not everything, never everything, but enough." The restaurant. The humiliation. The card when she finished, Lucia's face was pale. "Maya, listen to me. Damien Cole has a reputation. I used to work at a firm that brushed shoulders with his. I heard things. Women, assistants, interns, models. At first it's gifts. Then it's dinners. Then it's trips. They disappear when he's done. Sometimes worse." Maya's stomach turned. "You don't know that." "I do." Lucia's voice dropped. "He ruins people. Don't think you'll be the exception." Maya wanted to argue, to defend herself, but the words stuck. Lucia squeezed her arm. "Be careful, please." Then she walked away, leaving Maya with a cart full of food and a pit in her stomach. That night, small coincidences began. First, she found her apartment door unlocked, though she swore she'd turned the key. Then, Rosa mentioned a man in a dark car parked across the street, engine idling for hours. And one morning, Maya opened her mailbox to find a single rose. No note, no sender, just the flower, its petals already beginning to wilt. She sat at the kitchen table, card in one hand, rose in the other, heart pounding. This wasn't freedom, it was a tether, and she could feel the strings tightening. Maya had learned to ignore the card's weight in her pocket. But tonight the weight wasn't just in the card, it was in the walls. It started with a glint behind the lamp. Something small, metallic. She crouched, heart thudding, and found a black dot no larger than a coin, nestled where the socket met the wall. Her breath caught. A camera. Her gaze swept the room, frantic. Another near the bookshelf. One angled at Sophia's play corner. Her knees gave way and she sank to the floor, clutching her head. He was watching. Not just her spending, but her life. Her child. The front door rattled and Sophia's voice piped up. "Mommy, I'm home." Maya leapt up, forcing her face into calm. "Hey, baby." She hugged her daughter hard, eyes flicking to the silent black eyes hidden in the corners. For the first time, she felt not just trapped, but hunted. The call came that evening. Damien's voice was silk, sliding under her skin. "Pack something elegant, Maya. There's a gala tomorrow. You'll be my guest." Her stomach twisted. "No." "Yes," he said, unbothered. "I've given you freedom. In return, you'll give me company. That's how this works." Her throat burned. "I'm not for sale. You already swiped," he murmured. "Consider it. Installment payments." The line went dead before she could answer. Maya's hands shook as she set the phone down. She wanted to scream. But in the other room, Sophia was humming to herself, building towers out of blocks. The sound grounded her, reminded her of the stakes. She couldn't collapse. Not now. The gala was a palace of glass and marble. Chandeliers dripped light over gowns and tuxedos. Maya felt like a trespasser, tugging at the borrowed silk dress Damien had sent over in a box. Damien's hand found the small of her back as they entered. To onlookers, it was gallant. To her, it was a shackle. "Smile," he whispered. "Everyone's watching." She forced her lips upward, even as nausea swirled in her gut. The night blurred into a carousel of introductions. Politicians, CEOs, actors. Each shook Damien's hand with reverence. Each looked at Maya with curiosity, thinly veiled judgment. "She's stunning," someone said. "A bold choice," another murmured. Maya sipped champagne just to keep her hands steady. But as the hours passed, the cruelty sharpened. Damien's grip tightened whenever she faltered. He leaned close, voice low and venomous. "Eat slower. You look like you've never seen real food. Don't slouch. You're not in your diner anymore. Laugh when I laugh. Don't embarrass me." Each word chipped at her until she was hollow, a mannequin molded by his whims. Then came the final blow. A guest, a silver-haired senator, leaned in, eyes sliding over Maya. "Lovely," he said. "How do you find them, Damien?" Damien didn't miss a beat. He smiled, clinked his glass, and said, "Some people are born to serve. I just polish them up a bit." Laughter rippled around the table. Maya's face burned. Her lungs locked. She wanted to hurl the champagne in his smug face, to scream, but she didn't because she saw across the room a photographer's flash, and she realized every move tonight would be remembered, twisted, used. She stayed silent, but inside something broke. Not the same way as before. This was sharper, stronger. It was fury. Back home, she tucked Sophia into bed, brushing hair from her daughter's forehead. The cough had eased, but the shadows under Maya's eyes had deepened. She sat in the dark living room, staring at the hidden cameras. Her hand tightened around her phone. If Damien wanted to watch, she would give him something to watch. She opened the recorder app, tested it with a whisper. The red light blinked. From now on, every conversation with Damien, every sneer, every admission, it would be captured. Her hands still trembled, but not with fear this time. With resolve. 2 days later, Damien called again. This time she was ready. "Maya," he drawled, "you were exquisite. Everyone admired you." Her thumb tapped the screen, ensuring the recording was on. "You humiliated me." "Don't be dramatic," he said smoothly. "That's the role. You're not a guest. You're a symbol. When you sit beside me, you tell the world I can have anything, anyone. That's power. And you..." His voice darkened. "You owe me that." Maya closed her eyes, steadying her breath as the recorder caught every word. "You'll keep attending. Keep smiling. Keep playing your part. Because if you don't..." His tone softened to something almost tender. "Your daughter won't have the luxury of strawberries and cough syrup anymore." Her stomach clenched. She ended the call, pressing the phone to her chest. Fear throbbed through her veins, but so did clarity. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about war, and she had just taken the first weapon for herself. The texts grew sharper. At first, they were teasing nudges. "Wear the blue dress tonight. Order the steak, not the chicken." Then they became commands. "Answer when I call. Smile wider. Don't look bored." Now they bled into threats. "You forget who feeds you. Remember what's at stake. Remember who's watching." Maya deleted them as soon as they arrived, but the words carved into her mind. She felt Damien everywhere, in the flicker of headlights outside her window, in the pause of footsteps behind her on the street. She stopped sleeping. Every creak in the apartment sent her heart into her throat. But the moment she began resisting, ignoring calls, refusing events, the pressure doubled. Damien sent gifts she didn't ask for. Dresses that arrived in boxes tied with black silk ribbon. A diamond bracelet heavy with implication. An envelope stuffed with cash slid under her door. Each time Maya shoved them into the closet, unopened or untouched. She would not bend. The calls followed. "You're making this harder than it has to be." Damien's voice oozed through the phone. "I'm done," Maya snapped. "Find another symbol." His laugh was low, cold. "You think you get to walk away? You don't own me, don't I?" He paused, letting the silence stretch like a blade. "Maya, you've taken my money. My card, you've worn my gifts. You're already marked. Whether you like it or not, you're mine." Her skin crawled. She hung up, but the words clung, sticky as oil. The next day after her shift, Maya walked to pick up Sophia from school. The afternoon air smelled of asphalt and exhaust, the sky dim with gathering clouds. She spotted her daughter's pink backpack bobbing in the crowd of kids streaming out of the building. Relief eased her chest, until she saw the man, tall, dark jacket, standing too close to the gate. His eyes tracked Sophia as she skipped forward. His hand twitched like he might reach. "Hey!" Maya's voice cut across the crowd. Sophia looked up, beaming. "Mommy!" The man flinched and melted back into the street. Maya's pulse thundered. She clutched her daughter's hand, scanning every shadow. Who was that? she whispered. Sophia blinked. I don't know. He asked if I wanted to see a puppy. Her stomach turned to ice. She held Sophia so tightly the little girl squirmed. Don't ever talk to strangers, baby. Ever. That night, Maya bolted the doors, shoved a chair under the handle, sat awake with a kitchen knife clutched in her hand. Every passing car sent fear knifing through her chest. By morning, the fear had burned into rage. If Damien thought she would cower, he was wrong. She dug through her contacts, searching for someone, anyone outside his reach. Finally, she remembered. Lena Ortiz, a journalist who'd once come into the restaurant chasing a corruption lead. Lena had slipped her card into Maya's apron pocket and said, "If you ever have a story worth telling, call me." Maya had laughed at the time. Now she dialed. The phone rang twice. Ortiz, a brisk voice answered. Maya's throat tightened. Lena, it's Maya Torres. From, I remember. A pause. You sound different, and I have a story about Damien Cole. The silence on the line was sharp, like Lena weighing the risk. Then, meet me. Somewhere public, tomorrow, at the cafe. Lena was exactly as Maya remembered. Sharp eyes, notebook already open. Recorder on the table. You look nervous, Lena said softly. He tried to take my daughter, Maya blurted. Lena stilled. Start from the beginning, so Maya did. The restaurant, the card, the surveillance, the gala, the threats, the near abduction. When she finished, Lena's pen hovered midair. You have proof? Maya slid her phone across the table. Recordings. His words. Enough to show what he's doing. Lena scrolled, eyes widening. Jesus, this is... Maya, this could bury him, but it'll put a target on you too. Maya's hand shook, but her voice was steady. He already made me a target. I won't let him hurt Sophia. I won't let him hurt anyone else. Lena studied her, then nodded. Okay, but you need to be careful. Men like Damien don't fall quietly. They drag people down with them. Maya swallowed hard. Then I'll drag louder. That night, as Sophia slept, Maya sat by the window with the recorder still in her hand. For the first time, the fear didn't suffocate. She was terrified. But beneath it, another fire burned. Not just survival. Not just defiance, revenge for a while. Maya let herself believe she had an ally. Lucia came by more often, sometimes with groceries, sometimes just to sit and fold laundry with Maya, talking the way sisters used to before their lives split into jagged paths. It's him or us, Lucia said one evening, snapping a towel into neat folds. You can't fight Damien alone. You need leverage, evidence, allies. Maya nodded, grateful. She hadn't realized how starved she was for someone who believed her. When Sophia crawled into Lucia's lap, giggling, Maya felt something uncoil inside her chest. Maybe finally she wasn't alone in this war. The illusion cracked 2 weeks later. Maya came home early from work to find Lucia in her apartment, sitting on the couch with an envelope half open beside her. Cash. Crisp hundreds. Maya froze. What's that? Lucia's head snapped up, guilt flashing across her face before the mask slid back on. Rent money. I wanted to help. Maya stepped closer, heart hammering. Where did you get it? Silence stretched. Finally, Lucia muttered, Does it matter? Maya's voice sharpened. It does if it came from him. Lucia didn't answer. Her jaw tightened, eyes darting away. The world tilted under Maya's feet. Oh my God, you've been talking to Damien. Lucia flinched, then snapped, What was I supposed to do? He offered. I needed the money. We both did. You're drowning, Maya. At least someone's throwing you a rope. A rope? Maya's voice broke. It's a noose. He's using you to get to me. Lucia slammed the envelope shut. And what's your plan? Recordings? Journalists? You think you can beat Damien Cole with a tape recorder and a waitress's paycheck? He'll destroy you. Tears burned Maya's eyes, hot with fury and grief. You chose him over me. Over Sophia. Lucia's voice softened, almost pleading. I chose survival. You should too. Maya shook her head, trembling. Get out! Maya, get out! Lucia left, slamming the door, leaving the envelope of money behind. It sat on the table, obscene like a wound. Maya collapsed against the wall, sliding to the floor, sobs tearing through her. Her own sister. Bought and sold. She had no one left. That night, Maya stared at the black card on the counter, fury swirling. The same object that chained her to Damien might also be her blade. Every transaction was a record. Every receipt a thread connecting her to him. Proof that he was funding, tracking, coercing. But using it as evidence meant turning the spotlight on herself too. To the world it would look like complicity, like greed. They would call her a liar, a whore. An opportunist. Still, Maya lifted her phone, pressed record, and whispered into the silence. "My name is Maya Torres. This is what Damian Cole gave me. This is what he used to control me. And this is how I'll prove it." The words trembled, but they were true. Days later, Lena met her in a dim booth at a quiet diner. "You look like hell," the journalist said, flipping open her notebook. "Thanks," Maya muttered. "What changed?" Maya slid the card across the table. It looked absurd under the flickering neon light. "This I'm done hiding." "Use it," Lena frowned. "That's risky. With this, prosecutors could just as easily paint you as complicit." "I know." Maya's voice cracked but steadied. "But it's the truth. And if I hide it, I'm no better than him." Lena studied her, then nodded slowly. "Okay, we'll build the story carefully. But Maya, you need to understand something. Once this goes public, it won't just be him coming after you. It'll be his lawyers, his companies, his friends in power. You'll be standing against an empire." Maya met her eyes, raw but unyielding. "Then I'll burn the empire down." That night, when Sophia asked why she looked sad, Maya smoothed her daughter's hair and whispered, "Because sometimes the people you love don't stand where you thought they would. But that's okay. We stand for ourselves." Sophia's small hand wrapped around hers. "I stand with you, Mommy." Maya pressed a kiss to her forehead, tears pricking her eyes. She had lost her sister. She had lost her safety, but she hadn't lost her fight. Maya had learned something about men like Damian. Their greatest weakness was believing they could never be caught. He liked the sound of his own power. He liked reminding her what he owned, what he could break. If she could make him believe she was breaking, that she was finally giving in, he would talk, and she would record every word. The plan began at the restaurant where it all started. Damian liked circles closing, victories made theatrical. If she called him there, he wouldn't resist the stage. She texted him, "We need to talk in person." One last time. Within minutes, he replied, "Finally. Tomorrow. Midnight. Our table." Maya almost threw up when she read it. The next night, the restaurant was empty, closed except for the soft glow of candles. Damian had bought the space for the evening, because of course he had. He stood when she entered, his smile sharp. "There she is, my wayward little waitress." Maya kept her face neutral, though her pulse hammered. Her phone, disguised as lying flat in her purse, was recording. "I'm tired, Damian," she said softly. "I can't keep doing this. I just want to understand why me." His smile widened. "Because you had fire. Everyone else smiles, nods, plays the game. You told me off. In front of the world. That made you interesting." He leaned closer. "And once I take an interest, Maya, there's no leaving. I decide when it ends." Her throat tightened, but she pressed. "So all of this, the card, the money, the parties, it wasn't a gift. It was control." "Of course." His voice was almost bored, like stating the obvious. "You think billionaires hand out toys for free? Everything has strings. You're just not used to being the puppet." Maya swallowed the bile rising in her throat. "And the man at my daughter's school?" Damian's expression darkened for a flicker, then smoothed. "A reminder. Children keep women pliable. You should thank me. I didn't need to hurt her. Just show you I could." Her hand shook under the table. The words scorched her, but they were exactly what she needed. "Why admit this to me?" she whispered. He chuckled. "Because no one will ever believe you. I've ruined women far more powerful than you, Maya. And when you fall, no one will care. You're nothing but a waitress who thought she could bite the hand that fed her." She forced herself to hold his gaze, even as tears blurred her vision. The recorder captured every word. 2 days later, in a dingy motel room, Maya slid the files across the table to Lena Ortiz. The journalist listened in silence, her jaw tightening with every vile admission. When the recording ended, Lena exhaled. "This is it. This is enough to crack him open." Maya's voice was hoarse. "Then do it. Leak it. Make him answer." Lena nodded, determination hardening her features. "I'll need to move carefully, layers of protection, multiple outlets, but yes, this can work." For the first time in months, Maya felt the tiniest thread of hope. The hope lasted exactly 3 days. She woke to fists pounding on her apartment door, "Police, open up." Her stomach plunged. When the door burst open, officers poured in, guns drawn. "Maya Torres, you're under arrest for fraud, extortion, and attempted blackmail." Her breath caught. "What? No, this is a mistake." Hands yanked her arms behind her back, cold steel snapping around her wrists. Sophia screamed from the bedroom. "Mommy!" "Please, my daughter, let me just—" "Someone will take care of her," an officer muttered. Maya's vision blurred. She struggled, sobbing. "This isn't right. Damien did this." But her words vanished under the echo of Miranda rights. In the police car, she caught sight of a headline blaring across a glowing billboard downtown. "Billionaire targeted in blackmail scheme by waitress turned mistress." Photos of Maya flashed, smiling at Sophia's school play, carrying trays at the restaurant, blurry shots at the gala, twisted into a narrative that wasn't hers. The voiceover from a news report leaked through the car radio. Cole's legal team claims Torres weaponized her motherhood to extort him, demanding hush money while pretending to be coerced. They describe her as unstable, manipulative, and driven by greed. Her stomach heaved. He had beaten her to the punch. In the holding cell, Maya sat on the cold bench, head in her hands. Every choice she made, every shred of proof she gathered was turned against her. The black card? Now evidence of her greed. The recordings? Dismissed as selective editing. Her sister's betrayal? Likely already twisted into testimony against her. She was trapped. But when the door clanged open hours later and Lena appeared on the other side of the glass, her eyes burning, Maya lifted her head. "This isn't the end," Lena said firmly. "They hit first. That's what men like Damien do. But the fight isn't over." Maya's voice cracked. "I'm losing my daughter. I'm losing everything." Lena leaned closer. "Then we make them hear you louder. In court, on record. No edits, no headlines, just your truth." Maya stared at her through the glass, tears sliding down her face. The trap had sprung. But maybe, just maybe, it could turn again. The courthouse buzzed like a hive. Cameras stacked 3 rows deep on the steps. Reporters shouting questions over each other. "Maya, did you blackmail him? Are you a con artist or a victim? What about your daughter?" Maya kept her head down as deputies ushered her inside. The chains around her wrists had been removed for trial, but the weight of them lingered. She caught her reflection in the glass doors. Tired eyes, hollow cheeks, but a spine unbroken. Inside, the courtroom smelled of varnished wood and perfume, the air heavy with judgment. The gallery was packed. Journalists, socialites, strangers hungry for spectacle. Damien Cole sat at the defense table, perfectly tailored suit, perfectly rehearsed smirk. He leaned back like the room belonged to him, like the trial was just another performance he controlled. His legal team, 3 of the most expensive attorneys in the country, flanked him, whispering strategies, exuding confidence. Maya's corner looked smaller, a public defender with circles under his eyes, and Lena Ortiz, allowed only as a witness, scribbling notes with quiet ferocity. But Maya wasn't here for appearances. She was here for survival. The prosecution opened with fury, but Damien's lawyers countered with theater. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury," one attorney purred, pacing like a predator, "this case isn't about justice. It's about envy. It's about a woman who saw wealth, power, and opportunity and decided to weaponize her own motherhood to steal it." He gestured toward Maya, his voice dripping disdain. "She calls herself a victim. Yet the evidence shows she accepted gifts. She attended galas. She used a billionaire's black card like her own personal wallet. Is that coercion or complicity?" The jury shifted, some faces skeptical, some sympathetic. Maya's throat tightened. Damien's lawyer pressed harder. "She wants you to believe she was trapped. But listen closely. You'll hear her recordings carefully edited to paint Mr. Cole as a monster. Ask yourself, if she truly feared him, why stay? Why take the money? Why not walk away?" Every word cut. Maya wanted to scream, "Because he made it impossible. Because I was afraid for my daughter." But for now, she sat silent, nails digging into her palms. When the prosecution presented their case, the recordings echoed through the chamber. Damien's own voice filled the air. "Children keep women pliable. Everything has strings." The gallery gasped. A juror covered her mouth. Damien sat still, expression unreadable. But then his attorney stood. "Selective editing," he reminded the jury smoothly. "Half-truths. Spliced words designed to manipulate your emotions. This is not evidence. This is performance. And suddenly the recording sounded fragile, like glass that could be shattered with one sharp blow. When Maya finally took the stand, her legs trembled so hard she thought she might collapse. She raised her right hand, swore to tell the truth, and sat. The prosecutor asked the first questions gently, almost like a friend. Maya, tell the jury how you first encountered Damien Cole. She swallowed, forcing words past the lump in her throat. I was working. Just another shift. He spilled wine, humiliated me in front of a room full of people. I snapped. I told him off. Everyone heard it. What happened the next day? Her eyes dropped to her hands. An envelope arrived at my door. Inside was a black card, no note, just the card. The prosecutor nodded. And how did that make you feel? Confused, scared, like he hadn't finished with me. She told the story piece by piece. The gifts, the calls, the surveillance devices, the gala where she felt like prey. She spoke of Sophia, her daughter, the near kidnapping, the threats whispered over the phone. Her voice cracked when she reached the betrayal. Even my sister. He bought her too. Money was enough to turn her against me. That's what he does. He takes everything, your dignity, your trust, your safety, and he makes it his. The courtroom was hushed. And why did you keep the black card? The prosecutor asked softly. Maya's eyes filled with tears. Because I was scared. Because I couldn't pay rent. Because my daughter needed medicine. Because when a man like Damien puts a leash around your neck, you don't get to just take it off. Her words hung in the silence like smoke. Then Damien's attorney rose for cross-examination. Ms. Torres, he began smoothly, you say you were scared. Yet you attended parties in gowns worth more than most people's yearly salaries. You smiled for cameras. You drank champagne. Does that sound like fear or luxury? Maya steadied herself. It was survival. You don't see the cage because it's covered in velvet. The attorney arched a brow. And this cage, as you call it, paid for your rent. Paid for your daughter's medication. Gave you clothes, food, security. Why not simply refuse? Because refusal wasn't an option, she shot back. The attorney's voice hardened. Or because you liked the benefits? Maya's chest tightened. The jury leaned in, watching every flicker of her face. I liked breathing, she whispered. I liked knowing my daughter was safe. If that's what you mean by benefits, then yes, I liked it. Because fear doesn't give you choices, the gallery murmured. The judge banged his gavel for order. The attorney pressed the killing blow. Isn't it true, Ms. Torres, that you are only here today because you were caught? That this isn't about justice, it's about revenge? Maya's breath hitched. Revenge. The word twisted sharp inside her. She looked at the jury, at their searching eyes, and spoke past the lump in her throat. Yes, I want revenge, because he tried to destroy me, because he nearly took my daughter, because no woman should be forced to choose between feeding her child and selling her soul. If that makes me guilty, then so be it. But I'd rather be guilty of fighting back than innocent of doing nothing. The courtroom fell silent. Even Damien shifted, his smirk flickering. When Maya stepped down from the stand, tears streaked her face, but her spine was straighter than when she'd risen. In the gallery, people whispered. Some wiped their eyes. The judge called a recess. The jury filed out, their expressions unreadable. As guards led Maya back to her seat, she glanced once at Damien. For the first time, his eyes weren't smug. They were calculating, unsettled. She realized something then. He wasn't untouchable. He was afraid. The jury had been out for 12 hours. Maya sat in the holding room, the fluorescent light buzzing overhead, her body aching from stillness. She hadn't slept. Every second stretched taut, her mind replaying her testimony, Damien's smirk, the attorney's barbed words. What if they believed him? What if she became the story he wanted? A greedy waitress, a liar, a mother unfit to protect her child. She pressed her palms to her eyes. Please, please believe me. The guard opened the door. They're back. Her legs trembled as she followed him into the courtroom. The gallery was electric, reporters scribbling, cameras poised like vultures waiting for a carcass. Damien sat at the defense table, immaculate as ever, but his jaw was tight, his fingers drumming against polished wood. His attorneys leaned in close, whispering, their confidence thinner now. Maya slid into her seat, her lawyer beside her offering a tight nod. Across the aisle, Lena caught her eye from the gallery, mouthing, "Stay strong." The judge entered, gavel cracking. "Court will reconvene." The jury filed in, faces unreadable. The weight of the world in their silence. Maya's pulse roared in her ears. The foreperson stood, a sheet of paper trembling slightly in her hand. "Madam Foreperson," the judge intoned. "Has the jury reached a verdict?" "Yes, Your Honor." Maya's breath caught. "In the matter of Damian Cole versus the state, we find..." The pause stretched, unbearable. "Guilty of coercion, guilty of intimidation, not guilty on fraud and extortion." Gasps erupted through the gallery. Reporters scrambled, pens scratching, cameras flashing. Maya's knees nearly buckled. Tears blurred her vision. Damian's face turned to stone, his smirk shattered. The judge's gavel hammered for silence. "Order in the court!" The words echoed in Maya's head. Guilty, guilty. Not on everything, but enough. Enough to strip away the illusion of his invincibility. Enough to mark him in public record as what he was, a predator cloaked in wealth. Damian stood slowly, his attorneys shielding him, but Maya caught his eyes across the room. Rage burned there, cold, vowing vengeance, but underneath she saw it. Fear. For the first time, he wasn't untouchable. Outside the courthouse, the world had shifted. The recordings, now public, played on every news channel. His words, "Children keep women pliable. Everything has strings," were dissected, condemned, replayed until they became his brand. Board members resigned. Stock prices plummeted. Sponsors fled. His empire cracked piece by piece, but Damian Cole was not a man who surrendered easily. The next day, headlines screamed, "Cole plans appeal." His lawyers vowed to fight the conviction, to expose the media circus that poisoned the jury. Anonymous sources whispered of offshore accounts. Hidden allies, influence still unbroken. Maya knew it wasn't over. Men like him always found cracks to crawl through, but the world had seen him bleed. That could not be undone. That night, Maya sat on her small balcony. Sophia curled in her lap, the city lights flickering beyond. The air was cool, carrying the scent of rain. "Did we win, Mommy?" Sophia asked, her voice soft. Maya kissed the crown of her daughter's head. "We survived. That's our win." Sophia nestled closer. "You're brave." Maya swallowed hard, tears threatening. "No, baby. I was scared every second. But I couldn't let him take us. I couldn't let him win." She thought of the women who hadn't been able to speak, whose voices had been buried under money and power. She thought of the scars she carried, the fear that would never fully leave, the betrayal that still burned. Vindication wasn't healing. Justice wasn't peace, but it was something, a crack of light in the darkness. Later, when the city slept, Maya whispered into the night, "This wasn't just for me. This was for all of us." And for the first time in months, she let herself breathe. The card lay on the table, glinting under the dull kitchen light. For months, it had been her leash. Her curse. Her proof. Now it was evidence returned, logged, filed away by the court. The prosecutor had pressed it into her hand with a flat voice. "Yours to keep, if you want it." She hadn't touched it until tonight. Maya sat alone at the table. Sophia asleep in the bedroom, the hum of the fridge filling the silence. The black card looked ordinary, just a piece of plastic. But when she looked at it, she saw chains. She heard Damian's voice whispering through the phone. She saw the man by the school gate. She smelled the champagne from the gala where she felt like prey. Her hand trembled as she reached for it. The trial was over. Damian's empire was crumbling. The verdict had named him guilty, though not on every count. He was appealing, of course. He would claw and scramble, his lawyers filing motions, his allies whispering strategies. But the cracks were spreading. The recordings had gone viral. Women were speaking out. Former assistants, ex-partners, silenced voices rising in chorus. For every headline that tried to smear her, there were 3 more telling the truth. Maya had survived, but survival didn't feel like victory. Her sister still hadn't called. Half the neighborhood still looked at her with suspicion, wondering if she'd been a scammer after all. Sophia still woke at night from nightmares, whispering, "Is he coming back?" And Maya herself, she carried a tremor in her hands that never seemed to leave. Justice had come, but imperfect. Healing, if it came, would be slower still. She lit a candle, the only light in the room. Shadows stretched across the walls. Maya picked up the card, turning it over once, twice. Its surface caught the flame reflecting fire. How many women were out there holding one just like it? How many still lived under velvet cages, their fear disguised as luxury? Her chest tightened. She couldn't free them all, but she could free herself. She held the card to the flame. At first it resisted, the plastic curling slowly, acrid smoke rising. Then it blackened, cracked, edges glowing red before collapsing into ash. Maya watched it burn until nothing was left but fragments, scattered across the dish like the remains of something once powerful. Her throat ached, but she whispered, "You don't own me anymore." The next morning, sunlight filled the apartment. Sophia bounded into the kitchen, hair tangled, eyes still bright with childhood. "Mommy, you're smiling," she said, tilting her head. Maya touched her daughter's cheek. "Maybe I am. Are we safe now?" Maya hesitated, then pulled her close. Safer than before, and strong enough to keep it that way. Sophia hugged her tightly for the first time. Maya believed the words. Later, as they walked hand in hand through the bustling street, Maya felt eyes on her again, but different now. Not Damien's gaze, not surveillance, not threat. People recognized her. Some nodded with respect. A woman passing by whispered, "Thank you." Maya squeezed Sophia's hand. She wasn't naive. Powerful men didn't vanish, and money always found ways to silence truth. There would always be another Damien. But she had lit a fire, and fires spread. That night she tucked Sophia into bed, then stood at the window looking out at the city. Neon lights blinked, cars streamed below, life surged forward. She thought of every woman who hadn't been able to fight back, of everyone who still carried invisible scars. Her story was just one. But maybe it could be a spark for others. The scars would stay, the memories would whisper, but so would her resilience. She closed the window, turned off the light, and whispered into the dark, "We're free." And in the silence that followed, Maya believed it.